following is the amazing story where a young girl by the name of Winnie Eastland dies at the age of 6 after being hit by a car and is reborn into the same family as Susan Eastland. 2 years of age, she made references about the life of Winnie and an uncanny amount of knowledge about her. Susan also remembered playing in the fields with horses with her sister Sharon. She said that she was not afraid of the horses and had even walked under one. It so happens that Winnie had played with Sharon in a pasture and really was unafraid of horses and had even walked under a horse. Susan had a birthmark on her left hip, and the birthmark was in the exact same location where Winnie had been fatally struck by the car. It was clearly shown in the hospital's autopsy report. Now, Winnie's older sister Sharon dreamed of her dead sister, saying that she would be returning home. 2 years later, Winnie's mother Charlotte became pregnant and also dreamed of a dead child, saying she would return home. In 1964, as she was about to give birth, Mr. Eastland heard a voice say distinctly, "Daddy, I'm coming home." Charlotte Eastland gave birth to a baby girl, who she named Susan. Charlotte believed that because her deceased daughter Winnie was constantly on her mind and had dreamed about her returning, she felt that she'd given birth to her dream. When Susan was 2 years old and learning to speak, a strange thing happened, where if anyone asked her age, she would say that she was 6 years old, which was Winnie's age at the time she had had the terrible accident. One day when Susan saw a picture of Winnie, she suddenly became emotional and said, "That is me." Susan also talked about playing on the swings at school, even though she was still very young and had never been to school and had never played on swings. Before her death, Winnie had attended school and was always playing on the swings. Because of the strange behaviour of their daughter, Charlotte and her husband could not help but think, is Susan really their deceased daughter Winnie, who had reincarnated and returned to the family? When Winnie was alive, Mrs. Eastland used to pull out a cookie jar that had a picture of a cat on the lid, where she would regularly play a game with them. When one of the children wanted a cookie, she pretended to ask the cat how many pieces he could get. Then she replied in a cat's voice, "Meow, you can take one," or "Meow, you can take two." After Winnie's death, Mrs. Eastland put the jar away in a cupboard and kept it out of sight. When Susan was about 4 years old, Mrs. Eastland decided to take the jar out of the cupboard and fill it with cookies, as she used to do with her daughters. The first time Susan asked for cookies, Mrs. Eastland had momentarily forgotten that Susan was completely unaware of the cat game, and said to Susan, "Okay, what did the cat say?" Susan's answer surprised her, where she said in a soft voice like her mother's, "Meow, you can take one piece." That was not the only surprise, for her mother found later that there were more surprises to come. When Susan spoke clearly about things that she had personally never experienced in her current life. One example was where she said that she once went with a family to the sea to catch crabs, and also said the names of the people who had been present at that time. What Susan described was exactly what had happened the year before Winnie had died, when the whole family went for a walk along the beach in Washington. Although Susan was only 5 years old, she still claimed to be 11 years older than her brother Richard. Winnie was 3 years older than Richard. As a result, the family increasingly began to believe that Susan was Winnie. Mrs. Eastland once asked Susan if she remembered little Gregory and Uncle George, who lived across the street. The mother was fully aware that Susan had never met them, because Susan was born in Idaho, and when Winnie was alive, Gregory and Uncle George lived in a different town. Unexpectedly, Susan said, "I miss Greggy. I often played with him." Greggy is the nickname for the boy Gregory. Susan also said that she missed Uncle George. When we went to school, we would often stop and play at his house for a while. That was true, as Winnie would often go and play at her uncle's house. And the sad fact was that Winnie was actually playing at her Uncle George's house on the day of the terrible accident. Susan later recounted another interesting story, saying that one time when she went shopping with her mother had left her next to a food stall that was not too far away. Then suddenly a boy ran up and kissed her, making her father very angry. Charlotte Eastland remembered the incident as if it was yesterday, but she understood clearly that it wasn't Susan who had lived that event at the food stall, it was Winnie. The parents found that Susan and Winnie had very similar personalities, that they were both sociable and good-natured. So how come Susan was able to recall so much of her deceased sister's life, unless she'd lived it before? There appears no doubt that Winnie Eastland, after being deceased for 3 years, had been reincarnated into the same family, and was now Susan Eastland.